Hello, Gwenters, and welcome to another Sum Up Sunday. Finally, we're into a new season. I finally got my setup right, and we're going to be doing this how I wanted to do it for a while, which is basically to cover some of the best decks I have seen out there. There'll be a bunch of links up in the description. Make sure to check those out. But first off, I just want to start off by showing you guys a little overview of what we've covered this week, and then previewing a deck I'm very excited about for Monday. So basically this week, if you go back through my channel, you can see each of the videos that we've covered. My channel is a little bit different than some in that I focus a lot on creating decks that are competitive but fun to play. I find if I don't have decks that are fun to play, I just don't want to play Gwent because I don't have the time to dedicate to enter into the top 64 players in the world. I just don't. So I want to play these fun decks and have a good time. So Monday obviously was before the patch, so the biggest news of this week being patch 7.2. I'll leave in the previous on my channel, you can see the update 7.2. It's leading banner on my YouTube page, so make sure to check that out if you haven't seen it to get a really good rundown of everything that's gone on in this patch. But other than that, the next day was Temerian Tuesdays, and we started off with a deck that I've actually deleted because I didn't love it. So I'm going to be previewing the series charge deck. This is just a quick snapshot. You're going to see more on Tuesday. I'm loving this deck. It's kind of an amalgamation between All Out Charge and the seasonal that we used for last season. So here's just kind of a quick view of everything in here. Obviously, you can just look through this and add it, or jump on my Discord, ask for the deck link. I always share my prototype decks for anyone who asks on Discord, even before I've posted a video. Otherwise, just go ahead and wait till next Tuesday when it's Temerian Tuesday again, and we'll be covering that. Next Monday, we'll be covering this Rage of the Seas deck, which is a total riot. Very different even from many of the other beast decks you've seen out there, just because of who it's carrying. I've noticed a lot of errors lately with showing the wrong card art. Anyway, but we'll be getting into that. I already have the video recorded. It's pretty awesome. You guys are going to love it. So those are two decks that you haven't seen yet for next week. But then on Wednesday, we did get to a Wild Hunt Wednesday. Again, I created a deck that I wasn't super in love with, Eridan. Instead, I'm going to be running this Wednesday with an organic removal deck. I've had better success with that, so look for that video this upcoming Wednesday. Finally, we do have a deck on Thursday, Morvran's Mind Fork, one of my most viewed videos of all time. I made some big misplays. I learned a lot from this deck, but I really do like it. I think there's a lot here, and it's a really good template from which you can base other decks off of, using Tibor for mill, for example, but then also using Damien and Letho for major points, and reusing Morvran, perhaps with Offen or Albrick to get major points there. So really good deck, really recommend that, and make it your own. Make some tweaks, get some good effectiveness out of it. On Friday, we covered Firesworn Fridays. I don't even have a working Syndicate deck right now. I'll be coming up with one for next Friday. Most people I'm seeing right now are not running a really competitive Syndicate. They are just a little bit clunky. The Oniromancy and Jacques changes, making them really tough to carry strong points with. And the Poison package is just still not as good as Nilfgaard's is, especially when you combine with Vincent, Yen, and some of the locking packages with Vanhamar and Vautier that are going on right now. So, personally, I suggest you cut out Syndicate from your decks as part of your competitive play. For those of you who still love Syndicate, don't worry. We're still going to be covering them on Firesworn Fridays. We're going to be talking about archetypes. I've done tributes. You guys have seen hordes. So this time we likely will be doing fee cards, looking at the new Freak Show, as that is really a really good card right now. Basically taking over for Evald, but coming in at one provision cost higher, so requiring just a little bit more, and not getting the horse procs from graveyard. So really kind of giving an overall nerf to the card, but getting one armor, I don't think is a great trade-off for a faction that's really struggling right now. in my opinion. So, skipping them, ending up on Saturday, Forest Awakening still being one of my favorite decks of this season. Others have had lots of thoughts here, but I do think that the Elias combo, Magic Lamp, is working really well. You can change some of these, make it more of a truly just special card deck using Adrenaline Rush, Karathi Heat Wave. Those are all great cards you can use, even Oniromancy. But personally, this is the deck that I like. I find it has the best tempo, also weighted with really good control. A lot of great effectiveness there. So that kind of wraps up the surrounding decks for this week and some from next week. This is really the first time doing this video this way, so pardon me for not having it all super fleshed out. I really want to hear what you guys think about this, so please let me know down in the comments. Please subscribe for more content, and please like if you like this video. Transitioning now to a little bit different. My channel, like I said, is focused on some of these fun and competitive decks, but not ultra competitive. Now, my favorite, and we're just going to switch over here, my favorite competitive player that really shares the most info. Man, I'm having a hard time. Here we go. My favorite competitive player that is sharing info right now, pardon us for technical glitches there, but is Saber. Saber 97 being a fantastic competitive player. He, at the time of this post, was sitting at number 1. Spyro and Chase following right up behind him, but Saber is consistently at the top. Has some really fun decks that we're going to check out here momentarily. But Saber rocking Monsters, Northern Realms, Scoia'tael, and Skellige. I think those all make a good bit of sense. I do think Nilfgaard is quite good as well, especially if you can tweak those decks to perfection. But obviously these 4 decks being his choice. So he has left some information here. I'll leave this link up in the description. I really like Saber. Candidly, I'm not a huge fan of TLG's Meta Report. For those of you who aren't familiar, just to kind of walk you through, if you just type in TLG Meta Snapshot, go to Team Leviathan Gaming. This is kind of the go-to in the Gwent community for what the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 lists are. Personally, I don't really love how they break things out. I also think they're a little bit slow. I think they love to give a broad treatment to a certain deck that is always, in my experience, a bit clunky to play. It's a little too broad. That includes too many things from too many players, and is always just a little bit boring, in my opinion. Now, that said, some people really do like them, and I do use it. I use it all the time. I look to see what they are reviewing as the top decks, because inevitably after TLG posts these, you see like 4 times the number of these same decks on ladder. I think Shiru was a really good example of this from last season. Shiru Gord was posted TLG Meta Report, and within a couple of days, everyone was running Shiru Gord as a deck that's really fun, but I really don't think it was as great as some people thought it was. The new tweaks to Mahakam Defenders and Novigradian Justice, though, as really, really good tempo. I really would recommend them. But let's jump into Saber's decks. I think these are really helpful to see. Personally, I think carrying Oberon was a mistake. I think Oberon is not awesome. I think he is the worst of the leaders, but, who am I to judge Saber's choices? Otherwise, I think you can see here some of the other choices he's making. Magic Lamp being a perennial favorite of Saber's, but these other decks carrying Tactical Advantage, which I found to be pretty interesting. Not using Crystal Skull. I think just depending on where you are on ladder and who you queue into, personally, I still think Crystal Skull is a much better option. But lots of punish here with Werecat, Striga, Maruna, just using this overwhelming hunger deck to annihilate opponents and get some really good tempo with Wild Hunt Riders and Andrega Larva. So this is a pretty solid deck. We've seen this around for quite a while. Really similar to my Consume deck, but adding in Detloff instead. Again, here I think you could tweak out Oberon and add in something different. Just kind of depends on your style of play. Next, Shield Wall. A lot of people really loving Shield Wall as a leader ability, and basically just using the all-out charge combo package here with War Elephant, Viraxis, and Baron, and then just a bunch of cheap bronzes. Now, Dun Banner here getting a little bit of love this season as they were knocked down to 4 provisions, 3-point units. So long as they get boosted, you can string them out. We'll hopefully, not this week, but the week after, be doing a really fun deck on mobilization for and Pavetta with blue stripes, and Dunbanner being a really good target to also spawn more of these units from in your deck and then boosting up your Dunbanners. You can actually do a lot of really fun things with those. So anyway, but I think this is otherwise a pretty familiar deck in terms of Northern Realms. If you've seen like the Dumbo decks that were getting some traction last season, this is very similar to that. Next, Nature's Gift. He's running Symbiosis. I do think Symbiosis is quite good. I don't love Oneiromancy. I think missing Ethne is problematic in my opinion. This deck instead kind of just coming in as like a broad removal deck with double Nature's Rebukes, Becker's Rock Slide, and Karathi Heatwave for major punish, but Novigradian Justice and Mahakam Volunteers being a very, very good tempo package. You spawn this 5-point, and it's kind of hard to see here, but you spawn a 5-point Cleaver's Muscle with a shield, and then you'll also be able to call out both your Mahakam Volunteers if you just play one of them, because you would already control a dwarf, adding up to a solid 13 points with one play. And just being a really great tutor card generally. So I do recommend that package if you are thinking of running a Dwarves deck, absolutely. But if you are running kind of this broader non-devotion Nature's Gift deck, it can be really good for that as well. But Dunka fitted in here. I know some people were wondering whether or not Dunka was good. I think I am seeing Dunka in most of the truly competitive decks. Treant Boar also just really good for the boost and the damage and the procs for Nature's Rebuke, boosting a random allied Treant. So really do recommend that card as well if you're thinking about a passive engine. I think Boar is better than Pavko, especially if you're running Dryads. Finally, Patricidal Fury. This deck makes me sick. I'm really sick and tired of seeing constant non-stop removal warriors. But this is a deck that gets wins, and if you're looking to just get some wins with Skellige, it is working. Hjalmar now coming into many decks just because these great swords do hit for 10 damage with Hjalmar, and you can only resurrect one of them for most decks now. So just because our other favorite leader ability that allowed us to resurrect even just a 9 provision cost unit for Skellige is now gone and replaced with the Tidal Fury Seas event, Rage of the Seas leader ability, which we are going to see and fits very well with the Beast deck, but we'll be getting to that on Monday. So anyway, that kind of wraps it up for me. Like I said, you can check out TLG's report. It's not updated for this season, so I think Saber sharing his top wins and being #1 ranked player gives you a really good sense of what your targets might be, what a really good deck with a good win rate is that you should just keep using to get a good feel for it, especially if you're new to a faction. I recommend just sticking with one of these decks from Saber to get a good sense for what is competitive, knowing that a sample size of at least 25 has existed for each of these decks, and Saber getting really good effectiveness out of each of those decks, with 17 and 8 being the lowest of all of them. But please let me know what you guys think of this video. If you feel like there's something I missed, if you wish I would have covered something else. But looking forward to talking with you guys this week and showing off some really, really fun decks I have found myself playing in my own personal downtime off stream. I think you guys will really enjoy them. And if not, please let me know if you have other thoughts or suggestions. But until next time, good luck on the path. Get out there and keep on Gwenting.